So, what we're gonna do now is, we're going to learn how to use Bootstrap alongside Django. All right? Can everyone quiet down? Yes? All right. So we're gonna see how we can use Bootstrap alongside Django. We're gonna see how we can integrate it into our project and how to design. Just a few simple basics, and then we'll play around with it and see what we can do from there. All right? So, first things first, what we're going to do is we're going to go to getbootstrap.com, Bootstrap's website. And the simplest way to get started is to grab this CSS file and these JavaScript files. Because essentially, what Bootstrap is, it's a design toolkit, okay? All you have to do to use it is to just grab the CSS and JavaScript files that it provides you with. So what I'm gonna do is, let's just go and run our project. Let me deactivate this and go to my task, or sorry, my let's close that, run the server. That's a lot of stuff open. So what I'm gonna do is, I'm gonna run the server and we're gonna take a look at basically a before and after, okay? So let's go to all right, I'm just gonna remove this ugly CSS that I have. All right, so this is what our project currently looks like, right? Let's see what changes by just adding the CSS and JavaScript files. How do I do that? I simply go and grab those links. See these? So I'm going to grab the CSS file, copy that, copy, come, and I'll put it here. Okay? I can keep my CSS file if I want to. If I do, I'll just put it on top. Okay? Clear? All right. I don't want mine, so I'll just delete it. Okay, now the JavaScript files, it's best practice to keep your JavaScript files as the last thing in the body. Okay? It's best practice. Because what's in the head is the first thing that runs, which is CSS. You don't want your JavaScript files to start rendering before your HTML is rendered. No, because this takes time, and what JavaScript does is used to manipulate objects, right? So why would you want your JavaScript to run before your objects are even there? You get what I mean? So again, it's best practice to keep JavaScript files at the end of the body, best practice to keep CSS files at the end of the head. Clear? By doing this one step, Bootstrap is set up. That's it. Easy, right? So I can download it, or I can use this, which is a CDN. There's pros and cons to both. We can get into that later. But the easiest way to use it is to use a CDN, which is basically a link to the CSS file and links to the JavaScript files. All right? Any questions? Say that again? That's it. To set up JavaScript, that's all you need. For the setup, only this. In the base file, so that I can have Bootstrap available on all my templates. So now, Of course you can. So if you want to adjust it, all you have to do is just have your own CSS file under the Bootstrap one. So whatever Bootstrap is doing, you overwrite. Any other questions? Yes. This is base.html. If there is no base.html, you do this on every single HTML file. Any other questions? All right, so let's get started. So now, by just adding this, let's see how the page changes. All right, I'll refresh. Looks a little better, just a little bit. The font's changed, the colors look a little nicer. Not that by that much, but I mean, we just did close to nothing and this happened. We'll get to that, I promise. Yes, the pictures are ugly, we'll fix that. All right, so the cool thing about Bootstrap is it gives you components to use. And now that we've set up Bootstrap, we can use the components. Okay, so I'll go to literally right there, components, see that? And I can pick all different sorts of components. Now for the list page, what I'll grab is a card. So I'll go and click on card. Okay? So that's what a card looks like. Picture, a title, some message, and a button. So what I'll do is, let's just see if there's a better looking card. Oh, whatever, I'll just grab this one. So I'll grab this card. And it gives me the code for it already done and designed, right? So what I'll do is I'll go to list.html. Okay? What do you think I need to replace here? Everything inside the block? What's inside the for loop, right? So this is what I need to replace, right? So before doing that, I'm just gonna paste the code over here, okay? And then I'll take the stuff that I need and fill it inside and I'll replace it, just to see how we change things around, okay? So here is where the image goes, right? So let me grab the URL for the image. All right, I'm done. Here is where the title goes, right? Let's grab the title. All right, here's where the text goes, right? Do we want to display the description? Since we don't want to display the description, I'll just delete this part. I don't have to take everything. I take what I want and I remove what I don't want. So this part, I don't want it. Okay? Or maybe I can use this part for the author. So I'll take this, or let's take this, keep this part for the author. And I'll say, for example, something like written by whatever. All right. Now, what about the button? Where do I want the button to take me? The detail page. So I'll take the URL for the detail page and put it where? Here. What do I want the button to say? Or read more, for example. Cool? So now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this and replace all of this with it. All right? Oh, it's optional. I can just remove it. All right? How long did that take us? Like a minute? Let's see what this changes to. Oh wait, image attribute has no file associated with it. Oh, I forgot the if statement. I'll say if article.image Whoops. Looks a little better, but they're all under each other, right? They're all under each other. So what I want to do is I probably want to play around with how they're placed, right? Maybe I want them next to each other, right? Now, what's Bootstrap best known for? The responsiveness. So the cool thing about Bootstrap is it will resize your content depending on the size of the screen. Okay? However, this is not really responsive, is it? That's because we have to use Bootstrap's grid system. If you don't know what Bootstrap's grid system is, go read the article that I sent. All right? So, what I'll do is, outside the for loop, I'm going to add a row. All right. All right. I'm going to wrap all of this, all of the for loop inside a row. Okay? And each card will take a column. So inside the for loop, I'll do a div that takes, let's say when the size of the screen is small, I wanted to take the whole screen. All right? But when the size of the screen is medium, I wanted to take a third, or let's say half. And when the screen, when the size of the screen is large, I wanted to take 4. Okay? Let's see what that looks like. Just give me a minute to fix things up. So now I get something that looks like this. And if I resize it, it goes smaller, becomes 2 per row. It goes smaller, it goes 1 per row. All right? Any questions? Yes. Sure. So, what did I do exactly? First thing I did was I went to bootstrap.com and I took this. Took the CSS file, right? Put it as the last thing in the head. Then the next thing I did was took the JavaScript files and put them as the last thing in the body. And that's how you set up Bootstrap, as simple as that. All you need to do is just take these links and take these scripts and put them in the right place. All right? Cool. Then what we did was we went and we grabbed this Bootstrap component, which is called the card, and we filled it with the correct information. We put the title where we want the title to be. We put the date where we want the date to be, right? And we put the URLs and all of that good stuff where we want it to be. All right? And we put it inside of the for loop. Why? Because we're dealing with a list, right? And I want each card to represent an article. Does that make sense? All right, let's do this from scratch. How about that, yeah? Let's go back to the beginning. Let's do it from scratch. So this is what we had before. This ugly page, right? What did we do? We went to Bootstrap. It gave us this code for the card, right? So it told me this code will give you this card. Is that clear? Okay, so I took this code. I brought it here. Okay? What I want to do is I want to take the values and put it here, right? This is the code that I want to replace. Okay? This is what I want to replace with the card. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the title and put it in place of the title. I'm going to take the author and put it in place of this text. I'm going to take the image and put it in place of this image here. And I'll need the if statement as well. Right? And then I'll just take this URL that takes me to the detail page and have it as the URL of the button. Is this clear so far? You sure? Any questions? All right. So I'll just change the name of this button to go to details. All right. Now, what I want to do is, again, like I said, I want to replace this with this card. So I'm going to take all of this, I'm going to cut it and put it over here in place of what I had previously. Why does it go in the for loop? Because that's what's being repetitive. That's the article. The article is what goes inside the for loop. And I want each article to be represented by a card. Any questions? Okay. I'll take it. Okay, we got a question. What is the? For what? For formatting the code? Oh, just tab. Like highlight and then tab, or shift tab. Oh, you want it like to format for yourself? Yeah, Sublime doesn't do that. And I don't like doing that anyway. A real coder indents his own code. I say that to everyone using VS Code. Anyways. All right, so let's see what happens when I just add this. Okay? So with just this, I refresh, and I get each item. Oh wait, I forgot to delete something. Did I? The what? Oh, okay. So yeah, so right now, I have everything looking like this. It looks like a card, but the size is not responsive, is it? Right? Now, the way that you take advantage of Bootstrap's grid system is by using something called rows and columns. I kind of treat it like a table, okay? And the way that Bootstrap works is it divides up the page into 12 columns, correct? Didn't everyone here say they know Bootstrap? I remember like 90% of you raising your hands. They're like, what, Bootstrap has 12 columns? Someone? If you're whispering, I can't hear you. Anyway, so yeah, Bootstrap has 12 columns, okay? So to take advantage of that 12 column grid system, I need to put everything inside of a row. So I'll say, okay, this list will go into a row. All right. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to remove everything that has a picture so that you can clearly see the difference. Let's just remove clear. All right, so let's go back. Now there are no pictures. The only thing that happened here is this just changed because I put it in a row. So now everything is inside of a row. All right? Row. But now the problem is each one doesn't know how much space to take from that row. Okay? So we said that Bootstrap uses a 12 column grid system, right? So this whole row has 12 columns. So if I want to say there's 2 rows per column, sorry, two cards per row, how many columns am I going to give each one? 6. Simple math. 12 divided by 2. I'm going to test everyone on their math now. What if I want 3 cards per column? 4. 4 cards per column. What about oral B? Seriously, you guys were interacting more with tooth floss. Come on. All right. So if I say I want 12 columns, or let's say 4 columns for each one, it's going to look like this. All right? but it will always stay as 4. And if I say 6, it'll be 2. If I say 3, it'll be 4. 12, it'll take the whole thing. All right? So is the grid system kind of clear now? All right. Now, the trick is to handle different screen sizes. Okay? So, what I want to add here is when the screen is X small, all right? Like a mobile phone. How many cards do I want to display per column? Let's say 1, right? So if I want 1 card per column, how many is that? 12. What about, let's say, small? Something a little bigger than a phone. Let's say 6. So 2, yeah? What about medium? Let's say 4. Small, large, say 3. All right, so now let's see how this changes as I make the screen size smaller and bigger, okay? I'll refresh. So right now this is 4, right? Sorry, 3, because 3, 6, 9, 12, right? I go smaller, smaller and smaller and smaller. Boom. Now it's 4 per column, 4 per row. 4, 8, 12. I go smaller. 2 per row. 6 and 6. I go smaller. Boom. 12. 1 per row. Is that clear now? Someone said no. If you have any questions, please do ask. It's like, no, I don't understand, but I don't want to ask either. All right. Yes. Offset? So offset is used when you want to give off extra space for the columns you didn't use. You get what I mean? So let's see how much we can play with. If I'm not mistaken, where's the offset class? Offsetting columns. All right. So, for example, let's say when it's small, let's give it 10. So the column offset here is going to be 1. If I'm not mistaken. خليني أتأكد بس شوي. Let's go. Oh no, that applied it to everything. Okay, let's just stick it to small. If the small is 6, we'll do small is 5. And we'll do this as column set small is 5. Okay. Go small. Okay. So what offset does is, so right now for small, I'm going to have 2 cards, right? 5 and 5, that's 10. I have 2 extra columns, right? To complete 12. What the offset is going to do is going to add 1 to each side. All right? That's why you have that extra space here and here. Now, another important thing. So right now, this is pretty nice, but 1 second, 12, 5, oh, let's change this back to 6. But what I don't like is that this is sticking to the end of the page. All right? Now what I can do is I can use something called a container, which adds a margin, squeezes it in. All right? So I'm going to add the container on the base file. All right? I'm going to say whatever is in the body, squeeze it in. Okay? For the whole page. Or for at least whatever is in between this block. So I'm going to say div, going to give it a class of container. So that does this. Now add some spacing. All right? Cool? Now if I do this, whatever, looks a little better. All right? All right. Now, where am I getting all these classes from? Container, row, column 12, card. Where am I getting all this from? Bootstrap. So essentially, Bootstrap is just a huge CSS/JavaScript file. Yeah, it's basically a library. It's a toolkit. All right? So is this kind of clear now? All right. So the next thing that we're going to do is, let's add a nav bar. All right? Let's add an actual nav bar. I mean, this nav bar is pretty cool, but let's add a real one. Let's go to Bootstrap, go to Components, go to navbar, and I'll just grab this one. I'll copy. Now instead of, now again, the navbar I want it to be is the first thing, the most top, the highest thing in the page, right? So I'm going to put it as the first thing in the body. Boom. In the base file. Because I want the navbar to be on every single page, right? Let's just remove the footer. I don't want the footer. So let me just clean this up a bit. Whoops. Let me just tab this in a little. All right. So now when I added this code, let's go and see what my page looks like now. Not bad. Cool, right? Got this little drop down, got these links, got my nav bar, got this little search thing. So what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna remove stuff that I don't need. There's lots of useless stuff that I'm not gonna be using. Okay? So I'm just gonna remove the drop down. Gonna remove this whole disabled link. Let's see what that looks like now. I'll delete the home thing as well, or I'll keep that. And what I'll do is, you see this? I'll just say create. 1 second. And change this URL. Whoops. Have this as the URL for the article create. All right. And have this as, I'll say blog. And have this as the URL for the list. So let's see what that does. So now if I go to create, I go to my go to the create page, I click on this, takes me back to home, and all that stuff. Cool? Any questions so far? Yes. Yes. This? Article create? So article create, if we take a look at the URLs, does not have a parameter. It's the article detail that has a parameter. Okay? Yes. The pictures. Yeah. How do I, okay, so good question. So you see this card image top? This is managing the picture for me. I hid the pictures, but if I bring them back, so let me go to my admin page. Let's just put a couple of pictures. Cool? Yes. The what? The image? Oh, I removed it. I went to the admin page and I cleared the image. Oh wait, let's go to something that actually has something. Was it here? Yeah, so you just click clear and then save. Removes the image. Any other questions? Yes. تقدر. Good question. So he said, can't I just download Bootstrap and use it? I was like, yes, you can. What's the difference? So there is no security issues whatsoever with either one. The whole difference is there's advantages and disadvantages to both. All right? So what we're using right now, these links that we used to use Bootstrap are called CDNs. CDN is just short for Content Delivery Network. Okay? So the advantage of using a CDN is one, easy setup. The second advantage is you don't need to worry about managing it. And the third, which is the most important one, is if your website uses Bootstrap, there is a very high probability that other websites are using Bootstrap as well. It's one of the most common design front-end tools. Okay? So why is that important? Because if you're using a CDN, once I go to a website that uses Bootstrap, those files will get cached in the browser. Okay? Which means when I go to another website that's using Bootstrap, it'll load a lot faster because it's using Bootstrap as well. Make sense? So, what are the disadvantages? The only disadvantage is you're using a file that's managed by someone else. Technically, Bootstrap, right? So you just have to keep up to date with any major changes that they make. You do need internet. But in this day and age, everyone has internet. Right? If you download it, you don't need internet. Yeah. Which URL? Sure. For the nav bar? Sure. Any more questions? Yes. Animation? Not using Bootstrap, but there are CSS libraries for animation. Cool. Any other questions? All right. One last thing, and then we'll have something interesting. Okay? So the last thing is, how do we design our forms? I mean, this looks pretty ugly, right? So, and our form looks like this. How am I supposed to play around with this, right? So there's something called crispy forms. Crispy forms, right? So what we're going to do is we're going to Google crispy forms. All right? Look at their slogan. Forms have never been this crispy. Nice, right? All right, so we go to installation. I'll send you guys this link in Slack. All right. So I'm going to take the first command. This will install Django Crispy Forms for me. All right. This is going to help me, this is going to help me make my forms look pretty. Okay. Going to go to my terminal, install this package. And what do we usually like to do when we install a package? Update the requirements file. So I'll say pip freeze requirements. All right, cool. Let's follow the next step. The next step says add Crispy Forms to your installed apps. So I'll take Crispy Forms and go to settings and add to the installed apps. The next thing is says pick a template pack. So it wants me to give it a template pack for it to design the forms. What do you think we are going to use as a template pack? Bootstrap. So I'll just go down here, I'll copy this line, and I'll say Crispy template pack is Bootstrap 4, because we're using Bootstrap 4. All right? Any questions so far about Crispy Forms? All right. Crispy template pack. This is just telling Crispy Forms what design packet to use to design to make the forms look pretty. Yes. So we added this and this. All right. Now the last and final step is to go to where your form is. All right. So I'll go to where my form is. I'll say load Crispy Forms tags. Okay. So let me put this down here. In the settings, don't forget, I added these two, right? And here I came and I said load Crispy Forms tags. Okay? Now I'm going to come here to my form and I'm going to say Crispy. What do you think this is going to do? It's going to make the form crispy. All right. Let's see. All right. Forgot to run my server. Nice. It's a template filter. This is called, oh, why the name Crispy? I mean, ask the creators of Crispy Forms. I have no idea. All right. So the last thing that I want to do, what's the change? Seriously, all this, you don't see the change? All right, let's remove it and show you what it used to look like before. All right. So this is what it looked like before. You notice the change now? All right. So last thing I want to do is just make this button look better, right? Still looks like the old button, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give it a bootstrap class. I'm going to say btn outline success. Now I have this cool looking button that gets highlighted. All right. Any questions on crispy forms? That was a pretty quick no. Yes. For crispy, all right. So for crispy forms, first we did pip install Django crispy forms. And then we went to settings. We added this line here to the installed apps, crispy template pack, bootstrap 4. And then we came here, we added this line here, load crispy forms tags. And then we added this. All right. Yes. Yeah, so if you want, you can overwrite the